Gather around, ladies and gentlemen, while I tell you about Alabama's worst loss in their entire history.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me, Jimmy Stein. He'll be joining me in a minute, I believe. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and I know you don't want to hear any of that right now, but this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and I want to thank you everydayers for joining us every day. And yes, do I look like warmed up crap? Sure I do. I did before the game, and now I really do. And it's the most embarrassing loss in Alabama history. I don't think there's anything else to say. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no highlight. There's nobody that you can say anything about. It is what it is. It is the worst loss in Alabama history. And this team deserves all of the arrows that will be shot at it. It deserves all the jokes it will receive. It deserves everything. Not from Kalen DeBoer down to whoever the backup punter is. They deserve everything they're about to get. They were humiliated in Nashville, Tennessee, in front of a very pro-Alabama crowd. Vanderbilt didn't have enough people to tear down the goalposts. It's one of the worst. It is the worst performance I've ever seen an Alabama team have. So for Kalen DeBoer to do what he did last week for 2 quarters. I don't want to discount what happened last week because that was still awesome. But this certainly takes the edge off of it. I don't think there's another way to say it. This was absolutely disgusting. I think Kalen DeBoer deserves a week of somebody jumping his crap because he needs to know this isn't the Pac-10. You can't just show up and we're not playing Oregon State every week. And this crowd, Vandy, I know Vandy's bad, historically bad. We should beat them. We're 23-point favorite, blah, 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 blah. All that's true. But they have a dude that beat Auburn last year at Auburn, and he beat them worse than he beat us today at their place. I mean, he's a dude, and we had no answers. Kane Womack looked like a lost puppy. And I don't know. God, I hope Jimmy can join me here because, frankly, I had a lot of people over at my house. We assumed this would be something where we watch Auburn get beat and Alabama win. We did watch Auburn get beat, and then it was just like, what? I mean, why aren't we turning it on? And everybody's popping their White Claws and hanging out, and maybe we didn't do our part. I don't know, y'all. I don't even know where to start. It's bad from beginning to – I do know where to start. You know where I'm going to start? What person on this planet told Kalen DeBoer, you know what would be a good-looking shirt? That one you got on. What was that? Popping out with some schmedium crap that looked like it was a hand-me-down from Mike Price. What is he doing? I mean, look, it's one thing to have your team unprepared. Can you at least put on a shirt that makes you look like, hey, I got an idea what's going on? I mean, this would have been nice. A little Yay Alabama shirt. A little shout out to Yay Alabama. Something. That shirt is the ugliest shirt I've ever seen. And I've seen the Seinfeld episode where the Maws eat all of George Costanza's father's beachwear. It's the worst shirt I've ever seen. Don't ever wear it again. That's something you get from Fanatics when you spend $100. You get it for free. So take that thing off and send it to Mike Dubose because I promise you he would be fine wearing it. All right. So after that, you got to talk about the preparation. This team came out and gave what was it, a 70? I don't remember, an 80, 75-yard drive to Vandy right off the bat. I mean, just, hey, here, Vandy, we don't care. And they just drive down the field and kill it. And then we get the ball back, and it's just like we just aren't even paying attention. And it's 13-0 before we even know what happens because it's a weirdo pick six. I don't care. Vanderbilt shouldn't be getting pick sixes on us. And then the defense, man. Look, Milroe, I've been singing his praise for a while now. He deserves arrows this game too. He deserves what anti-flowers. Everybody talks about give me my flowers. Anti-flowers this game. He was awesome last week. Beautiful. Loved him. Still love him. Doesn't mean I don't love him. I love my children when they do poorly too. But I have to tell them, you can't do like that. You can't just show up to a chemistry test unprepared and then expect to get an A. You will fail the class. We failed 5th grade chemistry today as master's students. And Milroe looked back. Ryan Williams did another Ryan Williams thing, and I'm happy for him. I love him. I love Ryan Williams. He's awesome. He's maybe the best player in the country. I'm not kidding. We all thought he was out of bounds on that catch for a touchdown. We all just knew he was. And then you see the replay, you're like, how in the world is he staying bounds? It's like that's some Nightcrawler X-Men bullcrap. And he's just unbelievable. But Justice Haynes, I love Justice Haynes. I'm going to tell the truth. I thought Justice Haynes would be so good this year. Where is it? Elijah Pritchett, who played pretty well last week, he got abused tonight. Abused to the point where I thought I would have to call some kind of hotline. That one sack that he gave up, the sack fumble, that's the game. That's the game. And somebody saying it's not a Milroe problem. I'm not saying it is a Milroe problem. There's not one person you can lay this at the feet of. It's a lot of y'all problem. And maybe this is something we'll start seeing more and more with the way NIL is. Georgia doesn't look good. I watched them play Auburn. They sort of just fiddled around, and they ended up blowing their doors off or beat them by 18 or whatever it was. So be it. But they didn't look good. They didn't look good against us last week, except for a couple of quarters. I don't know who looks good. So, which makes me even madder because we always used to look good when other people didn't look good. We're like, well, at least we're going to do this. You lose. It's Vanderbilt's the biggest win in Vanderbilt history. I guess there's some solace in that. Rowan Presents. What a name. He says, why are you so mad? It's only one loss. You obviously are, one, not an Alabama fan, or two, don't understand the magnitude of this loss. It isn't just one loss. This isn't just one loss. This might as well be 2.5 losses. There's no margin for error anymore at all, period. In fact, Alabama, now, could they still win the SEC? Does anybody think we're going to Tennessee and winning that game anymore? I don't know that we can. How are we going to stop LSU? Y'all tell me. I watched this play tonight. I don't know who we can stop. I'm looking back now on defense. We didn't stop South Florida worth a dang. We stopped Western Kentucky. I guess I'll put that banner up. And then last week, after the first quarter and a half, we couldn't stop Georgia anymore. Just couldn't stop them. Now, we got a nice interception late. And God bless that fresh Xavier Brown for kicking butt, and I appreciate it. But it was bad. This is there is no way to make this nice. And I'm really – somebody says, Jimmy not showing up. Jimmy has to do the Bama Online post-game. I told Jimmy I'm going live as soon as I can because I think it would be very hypocritical of me if I didn't go live with how poorly we played when I have no problem going live after we win and maybe even sometimes run my mouth. So I think that it's very fair that I go just alone right now and just vent. I hope y'all are okay with that because I'm putting this out as a podcast and it is what it is. That being said, we do have some rules here. I am going to have to take a quick break. So I do want to tell you all about FanDuel. I bet you could have gotten some FanDuel cash money if you had taken you some Vandy today. I don't know what it would have been. In fact, I know other sports books didn't even have a Vandy money line. So, because they thought, well, Alabama's certainly going to be Vandy. But if you could have taken Vandy, you could have made some big money. If you're an NFL fan, you make some big money tomorrow on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with 200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed, y'all, when you place your first $5 bet. That's only at FanDuel.com, which, of course, and I'm not kidding y'all, is America's #1 sportsbook. First of all, I also want to welcome the state of Alabama's new overlord, Diego Pavia. He's just come in the state of, well, he came in that state of Alabama last year and beat Auburn, and he whips Alabama. And make no mistake about this. Let's make no mistake about this. They whipped us. Okay? Let's not say this was fluky. I don't want anybody to say, well, the interception, pick six, bounced off a blah. Nope. Vanderbilt whipped our butt badly. They wanted it more. They were the big bully on the block. We took it. We just sat back and took it. I cannot believe that. I can't. After 17 years of Nick Saban football, I cannot believe what we took right to our face. They practically spit on us. And who's to blame them? We let them. That's on us. We let them do it. I just, I've lived through a lot of Alabama stuff. I was at the last Alabama Vandy game when Vandy beat us in the 80s. And I remember that feeling. I was young. I don't know, 10, 12, something like that. And, but it's been nice since La Monroe not worrying about that. Now, we lost against an unranked A&M team as #1 team, but we were kind of cool with that because that was nuts. That was just bananas. And, I'm not saying we were cool with it. Hang on one second. No, you got to go. But no, sweet Jesus. I've got to go to break. That's the way it is.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Okay, so I had to work through that. And that's just, anyway, I got to, when I told you I had friends over here watching the game, and it's been pretty sickening. And I don't blame them for being sick. And sorry that I had to go to break there, but sometimes that's what you got to do, right? I don't know what else to say. I'm sort of at a loss now. But I want to go back to, going back to the A&M game. Alabama lost an unranked team. That's what I was talking about. Going back to an unranked team, and I think we could live with it. A&M played out of their minds, and we got it because A&M also is uber talented, right? They're not Alabama's level talent-wise, but they ain't far. And they had dudes. And I know they had a backup QB and all this. Vanderbilt ain't got anybody that's going to be drafted. If they are, it's 5th round, 6th round, like afterthought kind of crap. And they just wanted it more, and they just beat our ass. I just no other way to say it. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can even say that word anymore on here. As AJ Evans says, I was there at that game, by the way, when A&M beat Alabama, and it was an atmosphere. He says that was an actual atmosphere. This was no atmosphere. This was Alabama had 80% of the people there. And Vanderbilt took it to us as if it's like we went there and paid for it. It's like we said, hey, we really want to be abused. Are you into that? Do you do some dominatrix stuff here in Nashville? I haven't been to Nashville enough to know where those kind of clubs are, but I found one on Vanderbilt's campus today. And again, I'm going to say I've seen a lot of DeBoer hate. Look, it ain't going to fire DeBoer. None of that stuff's going to happen. He deserves everything he's about to get. He just now became Alabama's head football coach. It's easy. I'm saying it's easy. Last week you beat Georgia, and everybody loves you, and you're the man, and you hadn't lost to your 108 and 10 or whatever you are. I say, yay! All it takes is one loss to Vanderbilt. It's like anything else in management. That if you're in management, they say, it takes 10 positive reviews to offset one negative review. I think it takes about 15 big wins to offset a Vandy loss. Normally, I'd say it's about 7 or 8, but when you're the number one team, I think it's double that. Rowan said, this dude's overreacting bad. I promise you, Rowan, I don't know who you are. If you're an Alabama fan, God bless you. I promise you I'm not overreacting. I promise you. I promise you the overreaction is going to be on the Alabama message boards tonight. You watch that. You want to see over. Well, may have. Now it's back. Another guy that's going to catch a lot of heat is Kane Womack. He is going to be eviscerated, and he is going to get drawn and quartered on Feinbaum. He's going to get stretched thin on every single message board there is. Danny Cannell, this game was like televised Viagra for Danny Cannell. He's going to lose his mind. He's so happy. He doesn't care about Florida State right now. He's going to lose his mind. He's that happy. Now, some of y'all are probably wondering, hey, why aren't you talking about the game at all? Y'all watched it. What do you want me to talk about? Justice Haynes getting 6 carries for 23 yards? I mean, Ryan Williams had 3 catches for 82 yards. God bless him, 27 yards a catch. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you, bro. Jeremy Bernard had one of the best catches of the year. When Jeremy Bernard made that catch, I thought, okay, we got a shot. And then all we got to do is get a stop. And then I turned to somebody and I said, oh, that's right. We cannot stop Vanderbilt. I never thought I'd say that. That's like saying, I can't not get Chick-fil-A to give me a biscuit on a Sunday. Every time I go by there on a Sunday, they give me a biscuit. It doesn't make sense. You can't stop Vanderbilt. I mean, maybe we need to I don't know what we need to do, to turn the music off at practice. Everybody's been talking about how wonderful that is. I got something I want to talk about when I come back, and this may feel like an overreaction. It might. I don't think it will be, but it may feel like that. I got to figure out who I'm talking about here. Oh, I'm talking about GameTime. I love GameTime. GameTime is the absolute best. It is just awesome. I use it all the time. Used it for World Series. Thank God I didn't use it for this Alabama Vanderbilt game. But if I had, I would that'd have been the best deal I'd gotten all day, was getting this ticket on GameTime, because you get $20 off when it's your first purchase. But for me, it's not my first purchase. It'd be my gazillionth purchase, because I love GameTime. I've used it for World Series, used it for college baseball, college football, college basketball, everything. Concerts, it's awesome. Go check out GameTime and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. You get $20 off that first purchase, and you will thank me for that. GameTime, it is awesome, and it is, of course, GameTime. I'm digging all these comments, and I'm digging that most of y'all are on board here. You know what makes what is really scary to me? And this really should scare every Alabama fan. It's 4th and 6 inches, 8 inches on Vandy 3. And we have to do reverse. Now, we got a touchdown, and God bless us for getting the touchdown. Yay, I'm happy we scored. In the moment, I was like, we needed the score. But you know what that was telling me? We can't line up and get 6 inches on Vanderbilt. What message are we sending, people? And I know, score any way you can at this point. Desperation, desperate times, desperate measures, all that stuff. Very fair. But I think that's where you create a culture of, oh, we're going to get funky on these things. Kind of like they've been doing in the Pac-12 for so long. And that stuff's never worked. And Pac-12 hadn't peed a drop when it comes to the playoffs. I think that's what, that's going to be a problem. Again, somebody can say, we scored. What are you complaining about? Fine. Fair enough. We did score. But if you don't think that's part of an issue, I do. I think it's a big part of an issue. I see some Georgia fans joining in. Hey, happy, man, come in here and make fun of us. We deserve every dead gum bit of it we could possibly get. We deserve all of it. Whatever shame you can heap upon us, we need it. Alabama needs it. So I'm going to tell you, this whole team ought to go home. I hope we bus home. I hope we bus home and everybody thinks about this for a while. This wasn't Alabama playing Tennessee on the road. This wasn't Alabama playing Georgia at home. It's not even an Iron Bowl, where Auburn's been really bad. They're 2-5 right now, and Auburn's going to make fun of us all week or all year, and they should. They should. That was awful. I'm going to tell you what else it should do. It should make people understand just how hard Nick Saban's job was and what a wonderful coach he was, because it's not easy to get dudes that all think they're the best to line up every week and dominate. Now, towards the backside of his career, maybe it wasn't as much domination, but for the most part, it was. He didn't come close to losing something like this against somebody like that. Yeah, you want to say, again, Texas A&M, he lost to an unranked A&M team. That A&M team wasn't god-awful. This Vandy team isn't god-awful, but they ain't good. They ain't 5 points better than Alabama. They're probably 25 points worse. This is somebody says the chat summary is hilarious. God almighty, I don't even know how to even look for that. I mean, it's probably just me crying, I assume. Is just a crying emoji. Is that what the chat is? I don't even know. But again, I have no problem saying everybody's worried about their NIL. Everybody's worried about their TikTok. Everybody's worried about the music at practice. Everybody's worried about what kind of dance we're going to have when we get in the end zone. Hey, okay. But if you don't beat Vanderbilt, does any of that stuff matter? If you don't beat Vandy, none of that stuff matters. The glory comes from the winning. And if you win, you'll get all the accolades and you'll get all the love. And it doesn't matter if you score 6 touchdowns or 60 touchdowns. That's what's going to be really hard, I think, for some people, some of this new era to understand. And they're going to want all their stuff maybe immediately. I don't know. Michael Eisenhower says, the world is ending after one loss to Vandy, and Locked On Panthers is less depressing than this. Look, this is not just a loss, people. This isn't, all losses aren't created equal. This isn't losing to Georgia 30, what would it have been, 34-33 last week if we had lost to them? I think that's right, 34-33. If they had come back and let's say Ryan Williams wasn't a magician at the end. This isn't the same thing. Going back, I'd probably rather, if knowing what I know now, I would have gone back and said, okay, we lose Georgia 34-33, but we beat Vanderbilt and cover. Oh, yeah, I'd take that in a heartbeat. The reason is you don't lose respect from the nation when you lose to Georgia by 1. Yeah, it would be tough to swallow, giving up a 28-0 lead, giving up a 37 lead at the half. That'd be tough to swallow. A couple other things. Somebody said, why no onside kick? I wouldn't onside kicked it either. Now, in hindsight, it's awful because we didn't stop them. But, I mean, eventually you just got to say, we got better dudes than you. We're going to stop you eventually. But we couldn't. If I guess in this moment now thinking, again, hindsight's 50-50, I would have been like, yeah, let's onside kick it. And because we cannot stop them. We never stopped them. So maybe I would onside kick it there. I also don't understand this. And maybe somebody out there who's more familiar with the NFL game can tell me about it, because this is an NFL thing. All right, so Vandy gets the first down with like 2:18 plus or minus, I think, maybe 2:30, whatever it was, to get a first down on their last drive, right? We had 2 timeouts. I would have used one of those timeouts, and then I would have used the second timeout, and then I would have taken it down to the 2-minute warning. Tell me why we ran it down to the 2-minute warning, and I know they don't call it that, whatever they call it. And then we call them after that. I don't understand. And I understand. I see it happen all the time in the NFL, and I still don't get it. I follow football all over the place. Derek Blackman says the worst thing about this is it wasn't a fluke. Vanderbilt jumped on us. I've been saying that this whole time. Please, if somebody can find in here where I've sugarcoated something, I'd sure would like to know where it was. Because I ain't sugarcoating nothing. We deserve everything thrown at us this week. And it's sad that now here we are. You know, we've been at the top. We are no longer at the top. Make that clear. Put that underline, highlight it, exclamation point, one of those upside down exclamation points in Spanish, all that stuff. We are no longer on top of the college football world. In fact, I think it's worse than we're about to admit the rest of the week. Somebody says the Bill Curry era has begun. I don't know about that. I don't think it's going to be Mike Dubose. What Alabama's about to enter, though, is back to drama each week. Drama. And we lived without drama for a while. We were very fortunate. We just didn't. I think the cable company just cut TNT off of our televisions because we didn't have drama anymore. We always won. And if we didn't win, yeah, that particular thing would be dramatic, but it was because it was a big game. We didn't have drama like last year. You know, somebody brought this up. Last year, Washington needed a pick six after the big win against Oregon to defeat Arizona State, a bad Arizona State team. So maybe we should have seen it coming. And maybe teams like, and somebody else will say, hey, Luke, remember La Monroe? Hey, Nick, say everybody has a bad loss. Okay, that's fine. I'm just saying we just had ours. So I'm going to mourn this moment if you don't mind. I'm not just going to wave it off and say this didn't really happen and like it's not a big deal. It's a monster deal. It's a huge deal. Nick Saban spent years, a decade and a half, building up our reputation. And then Kalen DeBoer comes out there with a shirt that looks like he got it at Mike DuBose's niece's yard sale and throws it all away. And I love Kalen DeBoer. I'm pro Kalen DeBoer. I'm pro Jalen Milroe. I'm pro all these guys. They stunk today. All of them. And they deserve what they're going to get. When you can't, you don't get all this NIL money and get all these accolades and get treated like practical gods half the time and then not get the criticism when you look that unprepared. And they all looked unprepared. DeBoer looked, I mean, for as great as he looked in the first quarter and a half of that Georgia game last week, the last bit of that game, he looked lost. I mean, and that's not the first time I've said this. I said this before. This isn't me like revisionist history. A lot of people said this. I thought he looked lost most of this game. I thought I would have been raising some cane because there were some times I thought, yeah, I thought Vanderbilt may have gotten away with a hole or so. Okay, but it happens. But it's on the coach to get on the ref to make something happen. Me yelling at my TV ain't going to do anything. And I'm certainly not going to blame the loss on that. But hey, just you got to say, hey, I think you missed one there. And then maybe you get the next one. That's how this game works. But you got to get in their ear. I don't know. I don't know what to do from here. You lost a lot right here. Alabama did. They lost. I mean, I'm barring just something miraculous because I can't see. Tell me it used to be I couldn't see how Alabama didn't have a path to the playoffs. Tell me Alabama's path now. Oh, just win them all, Luke. Okay. We can't beat Vanderbilt on the road. I mean, let's be real. I mean, do you really think we're going to stop LSU? We haven't stopped anybody. Do you think we're going to stop Tennessee? I don't know what they're doing right now. Arkansas was leading a little bit when I left or something. And I'm sorry Jimmy didn't make it to this. I'm sorry y'all just got to see me. But I promise you Jimmy will be here tomorrow. And we'll talk about it a lot more then. And maybe Jimmy and I will come back on tonight. I don't know. Maybe we will. I'm not promising nothing. I am Jacob Robinson, don't watch the games then since you want to call it early. Come on, man. I don't understand why people you can't, when you, listen, let me explain something. Okay. When you do things like, Jimmy and I love the University of Alabama. We love the football team, right? We do a podcast on it. You know, we were doing a podcast back when we weren't making money, making no money. I'm talking about like spent a lot of our time on it, put a lot of our heart and soul in it, talked about it. And so if you think I'm going to come in here and go, hey guys, no problem. We got this. We don't have this. This was embarrassing. This wasn't losing to even Arkansas or losing to, I'll say South Florida. This was Vanderbilt. And he says, what does complaining do about it? Jacob, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Tell me what you think we should do. Talk about how wonderful things were. Be the shortest podcast in the history of podcasts. There was nothing good about today. And I'm not going to come here and sugarcoat this and pretend like nothing happened when it was awful. I mean, I just don't understand it. This was awful. Bottom line, end of story. And I'm sort of at a loss with the rest of y'all. Like, where do you go from here? And I'm using this medium as a vent 100%. So I'm sorry. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. I love for you to watch. I want everybody to watch. I'm down with you watching. I'm fine with it. And I'm not trying to jump your case or anything because it's certainly not your fault. But I want to tell you something. If you thought I was going to come in here and tell y'all, hey, this is how we get back in the playoffs, forget that, man. We just lost to Vanderbilt at home as a 23.5-point favorite. They don't get no worse. It's worst loss in Alabama history. And I have no idea what to do except get on here and talk about how awful it was. I have no idea what to do. There was zero intensity. There was zero desire. I don't know. And I'm sorry if that offended you, anybody out there. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just telling you the way I feel about it. That's about as bad as it could be. And it's all at the feet of the head coach. And he deserves what he's about to get. And what he's about to get, some people are going to say by Wednesday, this isn't fair. It's only one loss, blah, blah, blah. It's fair. It's fair. Nick Saban handed him a silver platter with broiled lobster tails, drawn butter, escargot, little French bread, maybe a nice Parmesan kale salad. And next thing you know, there's 2 half-eaten hot dogs on it. It's just, that's the worst analogy I've ever said. But y'all know what I mean. So just hang with me. Hopefully Jimmy and I will be back here later tonight. I'll be in a bit of a better mood, and I will knock back some of these White Claws. Let's see how that goes for me. Maybe that'll change my attitude. So, all right. Until next time, everybody. Really sorry about how today went. Nobody is more sorry than me. But until next time, roll tide.